Have you ever heard of the village of Ethelgerd, a name whispered only in the hushed corners of forgotten folklore? There are stories, you see, tales of places that have slipped through the cracks of time, their names erased from modern maps, but etched forever into the brittle pages of the past. One such place is Ethelgerd. Our story begins not with a grand expedition, but with a single, trembling finger tracing a faded line on a weathered, ancient map. The parchment, yellowed and frail, depicted a route to a settlement that, by all official accounts, simply no longer exists. The path was marked, a silent invitation into the unknown. Compelled by a curiosity that bordered on obsession, a lone explorer took up the challenge. The journey was far from a simple hike. It was a descent into a world reclaimed by nature. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay as he pushed through dense, mist-shrouded forests. Sunlight struggled to pierce the thick canopy above, casting long, dancing shadows that played tricks on the eye. He followed forgotten, overgrown trails, paths that hadn't felt the tread of a human foot in centuries, each step taking him further from the world he knew. Finally, under a perpetually gloomy and overcast sky, the breakthrough came. Emerging from the suffocating woods, he found himself standing before a collection of strange, moss-covered ruins. These were not the grand castles of history books, but something more primal, more unsettling. Stones were carved with symbols that belonged to no known civilization, and a profound, unnerving silence hung over the entire area, broken only by the sighing of the wind through the skeletal remains of ancient structures. This was the skeleton of Ethelgerd, a place that time had tried and failed to completely bury. As dusk began its slow, creeping descent, bleeding the sky of its remaining light, the true mystery of Ethelgerd revealed itself. From deep within the labyrinthine heart of the ruins, a faint, mysterious light began to flicker. It pulsed with an ethereal, ghostly rhythm, a silent beacon in the encroaching darkness. Was it a trick of the fading light? Or was it the echo of a life long since past, a ghost still wandering the silent streets of a village lost to the world? This is just the beginning of the enigma, a single thread in a tapestry of unanswered questions. In a library lost to time, where silence was the only patron and dust danced in the slivers of moonlight, an old librarian named Elias made his nightly rounds. The towering shelves, laden with the weight of centuries, whispered secrets he had long learned to ignore. But tonight a strange magnetism pulled him towards a forgotten corner, a place where cobwebs were the only readers. There, wedged between two hefty tomes of forgotten lore, was a small, untitled book bound in worn, dark leather. It felt unervingly warm to the touch, a spark of life in a mausoleum of paper and ink. A shiver, not of cold, but of anticipation, traced a path down his spine as he carefully pulled it from its dusty prison. With trembling hands, he carried the peculiar volume to his oaken desk, the soft glow of his lantern casting long, dancing shadows across the room. He gently opened the cover, his breath catching in his throat. The pages were utterly, impossibly blank. Disappointment pricked at him, a fleeting thought that it was just an old, unused journal. But as he stared, a wisp of darkness, like a drop of ink in water, bloomed in the center of the right-hand page. It spread and writhed, forming intricate, elegant script that flowed across the parchment as if written by an invisible hand. The words told a story not of myth or legend, but of the library itself, a tale of a secret chamber, a repository of knowledge so profound it was deemed too dangerous for the world, hidden by the library's very architect. The magical script painted a map with words, a riddle that spoke of symbols and celestial alignments etched into the spines of specific books. His heart hammered against his ribs as the narrative guided him through the familiar labyrinth of shelves, his gaze now scanning for clues he had overlooked for decades. The final sentence of the spectral text directed him to an unassuming shelf of poetry, to a volume titled Echoes of Silence. With a deep, steadying breath, he reached out and pulled the designated book. A low groan rumbled through the floorboards as the entire bookshelf swung inward, revealing a dark, yawning archway that seemed to swallow the light from his lantern. A cool, ancient air, smelling of stone and forgotten magic, washed over him. The book's purpose was fulfilled. Its story was told. He hesitated for only a moment, a lifetime of quiet curiosity culminating in this single, irreversible step. As he crossed the threshold into the waiting darkness, the heavy bookshelf began its slow, grinding journey back into place. It clicked shut with a sound of finality, sealing the chamber once more. Back in the main library, lying open on the old librarian's desk, the leather-bound book's pages were now as empty as they had been at the start. Its ink-born secret returned to the void, waiting for the next keeper. Beneath the ethereal glow of a full moon, the silhouette of an old, abandoned chapel stood stark against the night sky, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Inside, dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight that pierced through the shattered stained glass windows. An explorer, driven by whispered legends and a thirst for the unknown, moved cautiously across the nave. His boots scuffed against the cold flagstones until he felt one shift slightly under his weight. Kneeling down, his fingers traced the edges of the loose stone. Prying it free, his heart quickened as his fingertips brushed against the cold, unyielding metal of a hidden lever. The air in the chapel grew heavy with anticipation, thick with the silence of centuries. With a grunt of effort, he pulled the lever. A deep, groaning sound, like a beast disturbed from its slumber, echoed through the cavernous space. A section of the floor, previously indistinguishable from the rest, began to grind open, revealing a yawning chasm of darkness. The air that rose from the opening was stale and ancient, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else, something indefinable and unnerving. Switching on his powerful flashlight, the explorer cast its beam into the abyss. It cut a sharp, white line through the oppressive blackness, illuminating the first few steps of a stone staircase that spiraled down into the unknown. Taking a deep breath, he began his descent, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the profound silence of the depths below. The staircase led him into a crypt, a chamber untouched by time. The air was frigid, and the silence was so complete it was almost a physical presence. In the very center of the room, his light fell upon a single, imposing sarcophagus. It was carved from a dark, unfamiliar stone, its surface unadorned except for a series of strange, interlocking runes that seemed to absorb the light. He approached it with a mixture of awe and trepidation, his breath misting in the cold air. As he drew closer, a faint, ethereal hum began to emanate from the stone. The runes, once inert and black, started to pulse with a soft, otherworldly blue light, casting eerie, shifting patterns across the walls of the crypt and painting his face in their ghostly luminescence. The humming intensified, vibrating through the very stone beneath his feet. He watched, mesmerized and rooted to the spot, as the glow of the runes brightened, reaching a crescendo of spectral energy. A crackle of power filled the air, and with a sudden, sharp hiss, a wisp of incandescent light, shimmering and alive, escaped from a minute fissure that had appeared on the sarcophagus's lid.